Hi there and welcome to another Adventure Bikes Australia video. This is part 3 of a 7-part shop day series. Oh, and if you're new here, my name is Ben and I'm not an expert motorcycle mechanic or motorcycle rider in any way whatsoever. Beginning life as a dual sport, Kawasaki has done a lot to try and mold the KLR into an adventure bike and less like, well, the Gen 2. Sorry, not sorry. But back to the Gen 3. The new fairings and the new headlight go a long way to making the KLR look like a modern, exciting adventure bike. From the front. In the back, not so much. They made such great progress on the front and then left this huge, oversized, dorky looking rear fender which I'm sure weighs a ton. I mean, seriously, what were they thinking? The solution to this problem is a tail tidy. But why would you want to replace your factory fender with a tail tidy? Well, your plastic fender may have broken and need replacing, but it's such a heavy, thick plastic, you'd have to be riding pretty hard to break it. A tail tidy like this one can also make up part of a weight loss program for your KLR. But let's be honest, this is mostly a glamour mod. It's 98% about how it's going to look and 2% about the weight difference. There are plenty of options for tail tidies out there on the market, and if you're in the mood to, you can easily spend up to $300. Now, the more expensive ones might look a bit flashier than this, but the whole point is that we're not going to see it, right? But there are two things that you should consider, and they are the angle of the number plate and the color of the light. If the number plate isn't vertical enough or the tail light isn't the right color, you might find yourself making some donations to your local constabulary. So what did I go with? I went with a no-name tail tidy from eBay. The eBay shop didn't have any branding either, though when it arrived it did have Zytema written on the box. So maybe it's a factory second or something, I don't know. But it was $67 delivered to my door on a Sunday. And those two important factors I mentioned before, well, the number plate is going to be at a satisfactory angle and the light is the right color to keep Mr. Plod looking in another direction. There's a link to this tail tidy in the description. A quick disclaimer, this is not a sponsored video. I bought this tail tidy with my own money and I have no connection with the company other than as a customer just like you. All production and publishing decisions and work are done by me, and all thoughts, opinions and responsibility is mine, including all the dodgy spanner spinning you're about to see. Also, I'm doing several things to the bike in one go today and separating the videos out individually, so you might spot some continuity errors along the way. Don't worry about it, but if you do have any questions, just bung them in the comments below and I'll get straight to them. As you can see, the tail tidy is much smaller than the factory rear fender and, by my dodgy estimate, probably weighs about half as much. All right, now that this one's off the bike, we need to do a little pre-assembly before we put this one on the bike. And the first part is going to be to insert this tail light. Now, I did have a little play with this off camera, and what I discovered was that the cable on the new tail light is actually about a Brazilian high 5 short from being able to hit the white plug on the bike. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to take a Brazilian high 5 worth of cable from the original wiring system. I'm going to have to cut it back down here and then graft that onto the new tail light here. That way I'll be able to use this original plug and it'll make connecting it all just so much simpler. All right, the first thing I do is take these nuts off the back, and they're so tiny I'm going to have to use my adjustable spanner. Very, very small. All right, we're going to insert this rubber bung in through the top here. Cables go in through there. Little bolt heads go in there, bolt ends go in there. Cables go through there and then back through the bung in the top there. Now, because it's going on a KLR, we never do anything without Loctite. Now the tail light, or the stop light, it's a combination, is now mounted into the tail tidy. The next step is we're going to have to lop the white connector off here. The white connector is the original one, and it handles the stop light and the tail light. The original license plate light is the black one, but we're not going to need it with this one because the tail light, the running light, is going to double as your number plate light. So I'm going to lop this one off down here, about there. I'm going to peel back some of this tape. Now, the replacement tail light did come with these connectors here, but unfortunately, the mob that makes them only sent me a bag of other male connectors to connect them, so these ones have got to come off too. So that now gives me this section of the original wiring harness to be able to connect to the new wiring of the new tail light. Okay, so we've now got our new tail light wires and our old tail light wires, so we can keep the OEM plug, which is great. And to join these together, I've got a couple of these solder splices here. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And we're going to join them up using the heat gun. We did have to have a change of venue because the rain started coming in again, and of course I've now set it all up on the rear deck of the house and the rain has stopped again. So we're just going to stay here for now and finish this part of the job. And according to instructions, we're going to be joining yellow to red, we're going to be joining orange to blue, and of course black to black. So let's get into it. All right, let's give this a quick test. Because of the rain, I'm not going to go out for a ride to test. I'm just going to test it here in the workshop. So I've not installed it properly. I've just sat it here and I've connected it back into the original OEM plug, because if it's not right, I'm going to have to pull it apart and do it all again anyway. So hopefully, if I turn this key, ha ha ha, yes, and brakes, yes, and number plate light, ho ho ho, nailed it. So now what I've got to do is take this back off and install it properly. These are the bolts that came with the new tail tidy. We're going to use them. We're going to make sure we put the head underneath so that if I do happen to bottom out the suspension, the end of the bolt's not going to rip into the tyres. Of course, Loctite. Woo! How good does that new tail tidy look? I am stoked with how that came out. It looks fantastic. I really like how it tidies up the rear end. It's in the name, tail tidy, and it was super easy to put on. Now that we have this super cool tail tidy installed, there's one more thing we have to do to fix a new problem that we've just created. I've noticed, and you probably have too, that the new tail light is much smaller than the original, which creates a new safety issue. It's an easy fix, it costs less than $100, and just about anybody can do it on just about any bike. So in the next video, I'm going to install another mod which is going to completely resolve this issue and help you decide if it's a mod that you want to do too.